everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the WCC Draft analysis. If you tuned into our first part, you are all caught up. If you haven't, you have a lot to learn, and you should be very excited. My name is Lindsey. If you somehow have not learned that yet, I am a current captain of the Lost Boys. I've been playing for, oh, my cat has appeared. I'm the current captain of the Lost Boys. I've been playing for 7, maybe 8 years. I haven't counted. And my pronouns are she, her, hers. And then I have 4 lovely guests joining me today.
I'm Danika. I previously played for the University of Utah Quidditch. I was their captain. I've been playing for 5 years, and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Catherine Condit. I play for Cal Quidditch. I've been playing for 2 years. This would be my 3rd. And I use the she, her pronouns.
Hi, my name is Brook Yearin. I play for Devils Quidditch, formerly known as ASU. I've also played for SDQ and acted as coach for both teams. I've been playing for about 4 years now, and I also do some tournament directing.
Hi, my name is Christian Krieger. I've been playing since 2014 competitively. I've played for Wizards, UCLA, Gambits, Diablos, and hopefully this year Lost Boys. I like to switch up teams a lot. My pronouns are they, theirs.
Okay, fantastic. We are going to hop right into this draft. All right, so if this is your first time tuning in, you can see the first half of the draft board on the screen now. We have talked about that in my previous video. If you want to find the video either in Quidditch or on YouTube, you can do that. If not, we're gonna hop right into this. So this is a snake draft, and there is a 7 max gender cap on these teams, and there's 12 total picks. There are 5 anonymous GMs who identity will not be released until after the votes have come in, and yeah, that's everything. So let's get into it here. And we're going here. Okay. All right, so the first pick from blue is Cyril from Utah State. Danika, what do you think of this pick?
Okay, so I talked about Adam a little bit in the last one because I was a little surprised he wasn't up there. Adam plays just like you would expect a Utah State beater to play. He's smart. He can be aggressive when he needs to. I think the biggest thing for Adam, why he wasn't in the very top, is he is more timid than his counterparts that he's beat with previously. So, in comparison with like Drew Smith, he's not as aggressive. He can make those beats, but he can't make as long of beats. And I think it's fair for him to go at this point in the draft because he is a really good beater and he's overlooked a lot. But yeah, he's really strong and smart about when he wants to play. I do think that it's interesting that the blue team chose another beater right off the bat because they've already got 2. So that's a 3rd beater.
Yeah.
So
I also
interesting.
I also like the Adam pick. I think that the West doesn't have a ton of depth as far as beaters go. So I see the reason to try to get some of the names earlier, just because if you're ending up picking beaters that may show up in rounds 9, 10, 11, 12, that may not be great. So I see the appeal of that. I think Adam's a good pick. I think he can work really well with both Kobe or Maxine. I see I think you're taking Kobe, who is a super athletic, hyper aggressive beater, and then you have Adam, who can play that like on or off beater. I think it's a good combo. It's a smart pick, and I also agree this is a good place for Adam to be in the draft. Anyone else have thoughts on the Adam pick?
I mean, I think there's a lot of usefulness to picking up beaters early, especially in the college game. Because if you have dominating beaters, that'll help lead the way to any victory. You can find drivers throughout much easier. You can find off-ball chasers much easier than you'll ever find beaters.
Yeah. I do think that they will need to get some chasers in pretty quick for Cameron, though, because as much as Cameron is a really good player, he does have a bum knee and he can't drive it all day long. So even just having as aggressive of beaters as you want, like if you wanted Kobe and Adam to go double mail and play as hard as they could all game long, that's great. but getting Cameron to be able to drive in and utilize that every play would be rough. So I think that they would need to add some more chasers given that this beater pairing that they have here.
That checks out. Okay, fantastic. Our second pick, we're going 2 Utah beaters in a row, and we have the lovely Danika getting picked for purple team. I also really like this pick personally. Danika, I think that you have the capability of playing with Justin really well. I think that you will be able to, he has that same Kobe, Ivan energy that we've talked about. And I think that you can both like match that and play with him and also be that support beater to help him when he needs it and like play the cleanup role. I can see, I am hoping that these GMs have taken our original critique seriously of like, we need to start picking these smart beaters. And the first 2 picks that they've made are 2 of the smarter beaters we had spoken about last week. So I think it's smart. Like I am not gonna act like I'm a Danika professional. I've seen you play a few times, and each time I'm impressed. You also have MLQ experience and have played on multiple teams and have like captain and coached. And I think that like you would just be like an asset to any team you're gonna be on. Just that like conversational like how can we accomplish X, Y, and Z. So if we're also thinking about like who can help do a sideline and who can help do this, like you're an asset on and off like the physical field. So I think it's smart, especially with like, I'm not surprised to see these beaters going quickly, and I'm happy to see Purple realize that they have a need to have a pair with Justin really quickly, and I think it's a good set.
Yeah, not to like talk about me too much, but I know my strengths and weaknesses pretty well, and I am not an aggressive beater. Like in general, I am not the one that's going to run up on the field and just take a bunch of people out. I'm more conservative. Michael Vong refers to me as an anchor. And it's because I spend a lot of my time just cleaning up and making sure we have one back for defense at minimum. But I think with a beater as aggressive as Justin, that like beating with him would be amazing. And I wish that I could actually have that opportunity, because I think that would be cool to see him being aggressive and being able to clean up after that play, because that's what I do. Like that's literally my role as a beater, is to clean up the play and make sure that we get at least one back every time. So I think that yeah, I'm excited about this pick personally, because I think that it would be really cool to work with Justin, and I do think that we could work well together.
Agreed.
Yeah, Justin benefits most when they have somebody to keep them in check, whether it be on the sideline or on the field. As long as I've played with him, he sometimes just gets wound up and just really like tunnel vision of like trying to be aggressive. So you definitely help anchor him down there.
Okay, next for red, we have Connor Sparks from Cal. Catherine, what do you think of this pick?
I think it was an interesting choice to have it this early in the round. Connor's a really good player. He's really, really strong, and he has his strengths, but he also definitely has his weaknesses. He is good at driving. He can jump really high, and on defense, he will take a player down, but at the same time, he gets really like tunnel vision, like you said, and he just goes, and that causes him to, he gets cards a lot. He'll get a lot of cards, and he just gets caught up in the moment. And at the same time, when he's driving, he'll sometimes just like be somewhat reckless and run people over. So I think it's an interesting choice. Him and Eli pairing together could be good defensively. I see why they chose him, but it is, I think, definitely kind of a risky move.
Yeah, I think it's a weird pick with Luke Steining as your keeper, because Luke is a very chill player, right? And he just kind of like dishes it like last second. I think that Connor is a good person that he could easily dump it to finish the play.
Yeah.
So as far as scoring, that'd be really good. But I think that the chemistry would be a bit off.
Yeah. He's definitely, with his strengths, I think he's better on offense when he's just at the hoop ready to catch and like dunk, because otherwise I think he can get caught up a little bit, and sometimes the play can get a little bit reckless.
On the reasons for picking Connor Sparks is that he can squat over 550 pounds. And I had a talk with Pfenning about that because he's going to some like championships of like,
Yes.
squatting or something. So
This
he
is
is
true.
objectively one of probably the strongest person in the college division. I don't know anybody who can use that move that much muscle, but he's also is he a rookie? Is he a first or second year?
Yeah, this is his first year.
Yeah, so that also is like we've seen a few rookie players get picked so far, but it's still, especially when you have so much time, I think you could pick rookies just later because they're just going to be less known, and you may be able to steal a more known person and hold off on your first year players a little bit because statistically they just may not be known as well by the other GMs. So definitely a strange move to take a rookie for so early, but if he's as strong and as good as you and Pfenning have both told me, I respect it.
It'd be an interesting pairing.
Yeah. Again, I would do anything to see these games happen. Alas. All right. Anyone else have thoughts on the Connor pick? Fantastic. All right. Next we have Michael Navarro from UCLA. Krieger, what are your thoughts on this pick for Gray Team?
So Michael is a very, very good player. He actually, I think this would be going into his third year on UCLA, and he was one of those players that came in that was like very naturally athletic and picked up the game like really well. He's one of those people that you see make a lot of athletic plays, those like jumping alley-oop catches, very quick on his feet. Like every time I watch him, he's like impresses me in some way or another. But he's also like very much willing to work with his teammate, a great communicator, and also just a great seeker as well. He's one of those players, he's still young, he's willing to completely throw his body on the line, so he'll make those dives, he'll keep going in when he's seeking. And I think it matches well with Dana in that they both are used to each other. And with Tony as a keeper, being able to dish it out to him, he'll be a great off-ball threat. So he really rounds off the chaser line that it looks that first round chaser line that Gray is looking to build.
Anyone else have thoughts on the Michael pick? This is a UCLA heavy group. All right, so we're gonna go to Teal with Olivia Forte from UC Irvine, Eater Quidditch. Also, if you're watching this, I have no idea why some of these picks are showing up with lines around them and some aren't. They aren't on my, I don't know what's happening, but they don't mean anything, just in case you're wondering. But anyway, Olivia, as far as the remaining like female beaters left on the board, she's a super strong pick. I was almost a little surprised that we didn't see Teal take a male to do a double male set like priority with Phillip, just because Phillip's used to playing a double male set on UCLA. Olivia is Kobe's mixed gender beating partner, so she's used to like a high paced environment and like playing Kobe's cleanup. Phillip plays a similar like quick, speedy, fast game, but I think that Olivia would need to step up a little more playing with Phillip to like help him out, just because he's not as strong as the partners that she's used to having. So I expected to see this be a male pick to start with like a Phillip male situation. After that's like what Phillip has been used to playing. But as far as the female beaters left on the draft board, I think Olivia is really smart. She is like speedy. She's picked up the game really fast. I think this is her second year playing. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But she's done really well and it has been a great partner to Kobe from what I've seen. I was a little surprised by it, but I'm excited to see it go down. Does anyone else have thoughts on the Olivia pick? Great. Okay, next, we are wrapping back to Teal again, and we have Simone, I believe it's pronounced Zyger, from UCLA. Krieger, what do you think of this pick?
I think that they're actually a really great pick for Teal team, in that he's a huge defensive force. This is going into his fourth year. His first year he was on Wizards, but was definitely at the level where he could have been on UCLA, just ended up choosing not to be. And he's one of those players that's like really strong. I think of him as a similar play style to Daniel Belton, but not as well known and dominating. He can make those drives really well and really play like a lockdown defense. He's very agile and able to keep up and really finish the tackles as well beyond just making the initial hit. He does have a little bit of a history of like getting injured and concussion, which like might not help. He sometimes is a little too physical and put his body on the line, so that could definitely hurt. But I think he'd match well with what TLT was trying to build and filling in the gaps that are there.
I think Simone's going to provide some good experience for what's otherwise a relatively young team as far as like your male quaffle lines going. So I didn't know who Simone was until I had to ask Dana for a photo because I don't know any UCLA players' names because their names are on their jerseys, which is the same issue I have with Cal until I had to review their games. It drives me nuts. But as soon as I saw the photos of who this was, I was like, oh, dang, okay, I'm following. Like they are an athletic threat. I think it's a smart – I think Simone's going to add a level of experience that the current teal quaffle players are lacking, especially with Aiden as the first pick. So I like it. I think it makes sense. I'm happy with it.
I think another like small aspect that helps is that he has had to play keeper with inexperienced teams. Like when he was on Wizards, he was one of the best people, if not the best person on the team. So he had to work with people that were less experienced and have to kind of take up the reins, which while he won't need to be keeper here, just helps with that flow of like working with people that may not know the game well or may be new to it.
Yeah, and I do think that he, having played against him, like when he's had to keep, he's really good at finishing the play. So even if he has to like help his keepers get to that point, like if they can just get it to him, he can take it in if they're struggling to get past the defenses that the other teams are putting up. So I think that, yeah, he's a really smart pick at this point.
Nice. Fantastic. All right, we're going to go to Gray's next pick of the draft. We have Harry Dill from Cal. Catherine, what do you think of this pick?
I think it's a good pick. I am glad to see the Gray team has finished out and made their beater pair. And Harry's a good choice. He's a really strong beater. He's the captain of our team this year. He's just like solidly pretty consistent. He has good aim. And I think he is also pretty dynamic. He can match well with a lot of people. So, I mean, it's just like, I think it's a strong choice. He also really understands the sport and he stays really calm during the game. So he doesn't get like worked up by what's happening, which can happen with other beaters on our team. So I think that's definitely good. Good choice.
Yeah, I also liked I didn't know what Gray was going to do to partner with Drew, and if this is supposed to be their primary set, I really like it, especially because Utah State's another one of those teams that doesn't really have a female beating line, so Drew is used to playing with another male partner, and I think that Drew is so adaptable that honestly any relatively good male beater that they were going to put in at this pick was going to fit well. And I cannot speak to Harry Dill's talent, but I have heard very good things. And I'm excited to see Drew get a partner that I think is going to work well with Drew. So fantastic. Moving right along here, on Red's next pick, we've got Sophie Wood, an NAU chaser. Brooke, what do you think of this pick?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, I'm excited to finally see some Arizona names on the board.
Yeah.
I definitely think that I did not think that there were going to be 0 in the first 20 picks. That definitely surprised me. I'm definitely excited to see someone from NAU because I feel like especially this past most recent season was more developmental for them. They definitely have a few strong players, and Sophie Wood is one of them. She really excels at ball carrying, which is really exciting to see. And so I think that's going to work really well for the other, for like Luke and the other chases on her team to have not only as an option to pass to, but to have someone who doubles as a strong ball carrier. Definitely very physical. She's not afraid to lay a hit. She's very fast. I personally we play NAU a lot out in Arizona. I dread playing against her because she is so fast, and that's definitely not one of my strengths. But from what I understand, something that she does struggle with is communication and being vocal. So I think, you know, with any team, that can definitely be a struggle for players. And I think for a fantasy tournament where you're playing with people who you don't really know as well, you may not know their playing styles or what's going through their head on a certain play, it's especially important. So that's kind of, yeah, that's what I'd say about Sophie. Great player, though. Good pick.
Yeah. Well, Sophie doesn't communicate very much. She does have a great field awareness, having been the coach for NAU before. Like, she really knows how to read the field. She's also refed a ton. So, like, she's really good at seeing where she needs to be and when. And I think that's really good. Especially, I'm liking this Quaffle lineup on this team. Like, with adding Sophie, it's really good. Like, you've got the 2 Cal chasers that are, like, gonna be aggressive and, like, good at getting to the hoops. And you've got Luke, who's gonna dish it to any one of them. And you've got Sophie, who can take the ball and just put it in real quick. And I think that these 4 together is actually really strong, and I'm liking it.
Yeah, Sophie definitely does well driving and scoring. So I totally agree with you. I think that their Quaffle lineup is looking great.
Fantastic. Okay. Shifting to purple, we've got Timothy Connor from AQUC Irvine. Timothy is one of the few males that we've talked about that kind of like have the Utah mentality of like more calculated, paced beating, and I love this pick. I also love that in the last round of this, Erin basically begged Red Team to take Timothy because Timothy is used to playing with Kobe and is also Steph's mixed gender beater partner, so it would have been a great pick for Red to take. And I love that purple team like snagged him out from underneath them. I think I don't know if that was a strategy involved. I don't know how many of them watched the video, but I love it. I think Timothy is going to be a huge asset if we're going to be paired with Justin, because that male set that he's used to with Kobe is super strong. And like Timothy was a keeper up until like a year and a half ago or something, and then all of a sudden transitioned to beater, and I was like completely baffled. And I was like, you are like 6 foot tall, and I don't know why you're making this like I didn't know. And he has excelled at beating. Like, he was a good keeper, totally competent at keeping, but he has really stepped up as a beater. I think Timothy will also pair really well with Danika, just because I think Timothy will play more of a way that Danika is used to, compared to how like Justin's going to be a little more chaotic. Timothy's going to be much more calm, cool, and calculated. I think Danika Timothy's set is going to be not the hyper aggressive mixed gender pair, but they're going to like not miss many beats. They're not going to make a lot of bad decisions. We're not going to have bludgers like very far away. Like, it's going to make a lot of sense. And I love this pick. Huge fan of it. I was surprised to see purple take another beater right away, but I really like the decision, and it's a good pick. I'm excited.
Yeah, honestly, I think this pick's kind of a steal, because, like, I mean, me personally, I couldn't put a face to the name at first, and then I like looked him up, and I was like, how are they going this late? Like playing against him, he's so like you said, like smart and calculated in how he plays. He can play those aggressive beats if he really wants to and make those long beats, but he doesn't have to because he plays so smart. And like, it's a great pick, and I really think it's a steal. Like,
okay, anyone else have thoughts on the Timothy pick?
I mean, I think just people love to watch hyper aggression with the plays like Kobe and Justin because it looks good and it's flashy, but they very rarely then track how much they mess up and how much those mess ups really just can waste a lot of time and screw things up. Like, if Justin misses like a huge long beat, like an aggressive beat, that ball is out of play for a while.
and then I'm chasing after it for like
10
minutes.
But when you have a pair, like say, like if Tim and Danika were playing together that are both very experienced and know how to play the game well and smart, those are the people that you're more likely to see consistency from. And consistency is much more valuable, even if not as flashy, for winning games. Like, so definitely a huge plus to have Timothy on that team.
Okay. Next choice, we're going swinging back to blue, and blue has selected Ana Gomez from Utah State. Danika, what do you think of this pick?
I'm so excited to finally see Ana on this board. I mentioned in the first video that I thought she should have gone earlier. She's a great pairing, especially with Cameron. Like, they have so much chemistry together that, like, he can dish it to her all day and she will score for him 90% of the time. So I think, like they've got 3 strong beaters, but now they've got Cameron, they've got Catherine, and they've got Ana, like, or Kat. Do you go by Kat? Anyway.
I don't care.
But like they've
Tell me
got
I'm
two really strong female chasers that Cam can dish it to. Cam can drive it in if he really needs to because he's got 3 strong beaters to clear the field for him. Like, Ana is a really good pick, especially for this team. Like, they've got half Utah State on here right now, so they're definitely going for that chemistry, and I think it's smart. I will say she's also very aggressive defensively. Like, she just goes for it no matter how big the person she's
You can
defending
see
against.
on the draft board, and
Yeah.
this is her putting a wrap on Daniel Belton, who is the first ball carrier chosen for this draft.
Yeah,
Like,
she's not afraid to go for that tackle, which I think is going to be really good for them. She's really aggressive. She's smart. The only thing I'm just going to toot her horn a whole lot. The only thing she's really lacking in is that she's small. She is small, but she knows how to use that to her advantage.
yeah, I agree with I'm a huge Ana fan. I am not super surprised she didn't go earlier. I think that she's deserving of going earlier, but I can't really pinpoint a place where I'm like, this was a bad pick and Ana should have been here instead. But I love her. She's a younger player. I think this is only her 2nd full season, maybe 3rd.
I think it might be 3rd.
Either way, she's not like a senior who's been playing this game with Cameron for 5 years. She is hyper aggressive on defense. Like, she connects wherever she wants to. I've seen her on offense, like, miss a few things and be a little slow on a pass, etc. But like, everyone has those moments. She is not a flawless player, but I love her. I love cheering her on. I love her energy. Like, huge Ana fan. Really happy to see her go in the 6th round. I think that's I am always so nervous about these Utah players that I love because I have fallen in love with Utah as a state so much, and I'm like, please make sure that you know them because they're so incredible. And really happy to see Ana go. I think it's a great pick. She is an asset. And having Ana and Catherine as like if 2 or 3 or like 2 out of your 3 or whatever female or non-binary chasers, like, you are setting yourself up for a lot of success. So
yeah,
really.
And I do think that this team has like a lot of positive energy. Like, I don't think I've seen any of these players just like throw a fit in the middle of a game, right? Like, I think that, like, as well as having a multitude of talent on this team, that they would be able to like have a nice cohesion as far as like personalities on the pitch and off the pitch, because none of them really get angry on the pitch. And I think that that's also an important part of drafting teams of, like, you know, various types of personalities. You have to find the ones that are going to fit together, and I think that this team is pretty strong in that aspect as well.
Speaking on behalf of my team, I personally would be really excited to play with Ana, and also I like that this team so far has an equal gender balance, and there's, I think, a good like distribution the way it's been done. I think it's a good team so far, personally, for my team.
Nice. Love that. Okay. Next, we have Michael Saradarian. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
I had to put it for a BAC thing, and I was like, please spell this out in syllables for me to say it correctly. Catherine, what do you think of this pick?
I like it a lot. I really enjoy playing with Michael. He, like Cam, he also trusts the female chasers, and he is not going to be greedy with the ball. I think that he's really fast. He's like incredibly fast, and if he wants to get around a person, he can get around them and shoot at the hoops. He also is not going to hesitate to put his body on the line and just like try and take down someone really big. I think that he sometimes as seeker, he can have his moment. Like, we put him in as seeker, but just like Cal as a team, we really don't have good seekers. And I think that Michael is good at, he's not afraid to like just destroy his body for the sport, but at the same time, he's not very consistent, but like none of our seekers are. So I wouldn't rely on him as seeker for this team, but I think that he is a good chaser. Whenever he's played keeper in the past, I think his passes aren't very accurate. He can kind of get in his head a bit, but when he can just be there as chaser and like running around and just like throwing his body around and being there for defense and shooting, he's good and he can drive pretty well.
I think it's helpful that, like, I know you said he's not the most consistent seeker, but at least having somebody that like regularly has seeking experience is great. Because I feel like a lot of teams so far haven't been thinking too heavily on the snitch on pitch, who's going to seek for them situation. And right now, even for blue team, you look at the only other like set seeker is Kobe, which is someone like you usually don't want to have out of beater play to seek.
Yeah.
So like if you have him able to get those reps in so Kobe can still beat, it's great. And then honestly, since Adam is there and he's like a smart beater, I'd imagine he does well with snitch on pitch, making those decisions so that when needed, Kobe can switch into seeker, Adam switches in the beat. It keeps their team like flowing well.
I will give him some credit. He does pull. He just doesn't pull as often as the Cal team would love to be pulling.
I mean, isn't that every?
I mean, does any seeker? Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
That's true.
Yeah, I was happy to see Blue have someone with seeker in their name. I think that if you're going to draft a team and you're like, Kobe's going to be your seeker, you are making the wrong decision. Kobe's so good, you don't want him out on the pitch for beating. He is a great seeker, obviously, we know that, but I think it makes sense, and I also think that Cal has such like a high passing game that Michael's going to be used to playing with someone like Cameron, who isn't always going to drive every time, and is going to be prepared to make those passes and catch them and play like on that type of level as opposed to being on like a drive heavy team. So I like the pick.
Yeah.
Okay, purple. We are going with their third beater in a row. We have Michelle Cohen from Devils Quidditch or ASU or whatever we want to call it for this. But Brooke, what do you think of the Michelle pick?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm probably biased, but I really do think this is a great pick. I do think it's interesting that purple team is now going on their fourth beater, but I don't hate that. I like to see teams snapping up beaters early. I know that was kind of my issue when I was first a GM. I kind of spaced on beater play a little bit, but Michelle as a player, phenomenal. She just finished up her fourth and final season with ASU. We'll miss her dearly. She's definitely a very experienced player. She had 2 years on SDQ, our B team, and then 2 years with ASU, I believe. And she is very physical. I've seen her full-on wrestling for that second bludger, WWE. She will not hesitate. I think that can devolve a little bit into that tunnel vision where that might not be where she's most needed, but she just won't give it up. She's very determined. Definitely understands the game really well, knows her basics like none other. And something I really like about Michelle is that whoever her beater partner is, she's able to match very well. I think playing with someone like Justin, she definitely, like I said, she can be very aggressive, but I also think she can play cleanup really well, go get that second bludger back while Justin is just going ham up front. Yeah, so I think this is a great pick. Like I said, I think she'd play great with Justin. I think that she'd play great with Danika, like you said, because you're more of an anchor player. I think you guys would work really well together. We play a ton of double female on ASU, especially this past year. So I think she could definitely excel there too. So this is an exciting pick, I think.
Yeah, and I actually have been on a fantasy team with Michelle before. So we have played together, and it does work. I do think she can get caught up in the beater play a bit and like lose track of Quaffle. So I think if you're gonna make like pairings of these four, I think you would want like me with Justin and Timothy with Michelle, because then you kind of get more of a balance in your two beater pairs, and you don't have to worry about one being like hyper aggressive and the other being less so. You'll have Justin, who's ridiculously aggressive with me as cleanup, and you'd have a smart aggressive beater in Timothy, but you also have a really aggressive beater in Michelle, and I think that Timothy and Michelle would work really well together.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think Timothy and Michelle would do really well together, given how calculated Timothy is. Like I said, I've seen Michelle wrestling for that bludger on the pitch. Meanwhile, every single person on ASU is on the sidelines trying to call her off the pitch to sub out. So I think someone like Timothy is definitely going to be, that could be a great beater pair. I didn't even think about that.
I think that his communication on the pitch would work really well with just making sure that she knows what he needs from her. And then it's just a really strong pairing. I'm hoping that purple team's going to get some good chasers from here on out, though, because we don't need any more beaters. We're set.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely, like I said, I thought it was weird that they went ahead and picked up a fourth beater, but I don't hate it yet. I'm just excited to see how the rest of the team fills out.
Oh, but I was going to say, with the as strong of beater pairs as they've got going, the Kel and Jonathan thing is really smart, because both of them can just take it in all day long if their beaters can clear off the pitch, which I think these pairings could do easily. So, like, having those strong driver keepers is really good for having these four beaters, which is, I think, where they're going with this. And, like, Nicole, she's a chaser, but she can keep and she can drive it in. And, like, having those three quaffle players that can just go all day long with like strong beaters, I think is going to be really helpful for this team.
Well, I agree that Tim and Michelle and then Danika Justin would probably be the best pairings. I would still love to see it a hyper aggressive Justin Michelle beater pair just to see how well it goes at the beginning. Because when it works, it works. And having that option there when you have such great drivers like Kellen and Jonathan can really make it work. If they're willing to really just 100% keep going, because even aggressive people, if you use the aggression well, even if you don't have a bludger, you're still messing stuff up and creating lanes for people. If you're willing to lay those hits on people when they have the bludger, that's just as much as useful to clear out a lane for people.
I want to just take all pairings of these four beaters and like compare them statistically. I just like this team just put them together, all of it, like put me and Michelle together, me and Timothy, Justin, like, and switch them around. And I just want to see the statistics on what works best, because you've got two like players that play smart and two players that play aggressive, and I'm curious how those pairings work like the best. I really wish that we could like just take this and like find the statistics of it.
Okay, fantastic. All right, moving on. We got Red's second to last pick of this draft with Stephanie and Chedta from Cal. Catherine, what do you think of the Stephanie pick?
I like it a lot. Stephanie is a really good player. She has this like really insane ability to stand like 10 feet away from the hoops, and she gets the ball and then 2 seconds later it's just like straight through the hoops, and like no one's ready for it. So I think the keepers are always kind of just like expecting her to run, but then it's just like in the hoops and then she's back on the other side of the field. So she's definitely good at that. I think that her like defensive abilities, she doesn't really like tackle a lot, but that's okay. Can work with that. She knows how, like, this lineup is very Cal heavy, and I mean, I guess there would be the advantage that they all know how to work together. I think Eli and Steph also would work well together. So this would be an interesting line considering it's like already half of our team. But yeah, she's a good choice, and she's going to be captain. She's captain this year, and she like understands the sport. She's like pretty fairly consistent like all the time. And she was just a rookie. So I'm excited to see where she goes in the future with the sport.
Yeah, I love this. I think this is a great spot for Stephanie to go. If she had done earlier, I would have maybe questioned it a little bit, but she's like, this makes sense to me. And I think that building this kind of Cal offense around Luke is actually like I like it because Cal is just such like a high passing team ever since ever since Pfenning left. It's you guys have shifted to be like not as much of the drivers as far as what I've seen, and I think that Luke kind of needs people who are prepared to pass and play. Luke is a star. Like, I am a huge Luke fan. He's a monster. But as we talked about last time, he passes more than he should. And I think that with the Cal kind of shell we're building here alongside Sophie, with Ivan and Steph as like their beaters to clear things out, I think Red is growing on me a lot. And I think part of that is Luke has the passing ability to work with all of these players that are so used to playing with the passing keeper. And I'm excited. I at the end of the last Red, I was like, we'll see how this goes. But now I am really on board the Red train. I do think it's risky to not have another beater yet. It seems like taking your third beater at 8 and later is a choice at this point, as far as what we've seen of how fast these beaters are going. But I like the Stephanie pick. I think it's going to mesh really well with everything else that Red is going with. So next for gray, we have Amber Zahner from Utah State. Danika, what do you think of this pick?
I'm excited for Amber to be on here. Like, I think that she's just not as well known as Anna, honestly. Like, I feel like a lot of people talk about Anna, but their play styles are very similar. They're both really quick with their hands getting it in, but I think Amber is just as aggressive as Anna on defense. Like, she's not scared to take that hit, like to just throw her body down on whatever, just to like get the quaffle back or to tackle someone. Like, Amber's another person who played MLQ, and so she's got that experience. She's got like a lot of experience going behind her. She's been playing longer. And yeah, she's not afraid to use her body. She's got the quick hands, similar to Anna. She's not big.
Yeah.
So if she takes a hit, she tends to stay down longer. So I think it's a little scary to like have her be going up against like huge players, but she knows how to work with it. She knows how to take that hit. She knows how to be smart about it. And I think she's a good pick for this team.
Yeah, Amber is super smart. She sees things that like her field awareness and etc. It's really on point. She joined me for a BAC episode and had a lot of insight to bring. So she definitely is like a strong strategic player. I love the idea of if Gray's going to do this dual male set, to have Dana and Amber on a line together. I think that's a really, really strong double female non-binary pairing. I have no complaints about the Amber pick. I am happy that she's on the board. I agree, she seems to be forgotten about often. I don't know if it's because like Utah State always tends to have like a handful of blonde people and they don't have their names on their jerseys, so people don't know who they are. That's why everyone should have names on their jerseys. But I agree. Amber was a star on Utah State, and I think she'll be a star on Gray team. So I think it's a very similar for what I said about Stephanie before. I think 7th round makes sense. I'm like, if she had gone early, I would have been like, that's probably too early. If she had gone later, I would have said she should have gone earlier. So
yeah,
I
do think that she will have an adjustment period to get used to working with these keepers, though, because the only person that she's used to playing with is Drew, and that's not really going to translate because he's a beater and she's a chaser. So I do think that there will be a bit of a learning curve for her, but she is smart. She can read the field. She'll just have to learn to adapt to working with Cal versus like Utah play styles, because they are fairly different.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
And I mean, Tony's like also a great distributor, I think, as well. And that, like, as long as her field awareness is good, like, I've played on a fantasy tournament with Tony, and he seemed to be able to work well with new people and really make those passes. So I think that'll work out really well.
Okay, and then next on teal, we have another Cal beater. Catherine, what is, I don't want to say this wrong and butcher the name.
yeah. Ansel Zucchi.
Thank you. I didn't want to be bad. Okay.
Yeah, Anshul.
What do you think of this pick?
Well, I'm a big fan of Anshul. This is his first year, and so he definitely like made an impression from his first year. He I think that him like pairing with Philip or Olivia would be interesting. Cal typically works with a double male beater, so he would be comfortable with that. He's really fast and he works well on defense. This is not going to be very important to like anything in reality, but he has this like really, really insane ability to just like someone's throwing a quaffle into the hoops, and if no one's there, he'll just throw the bludger and it hits the ball and goes flying. So, and he's never missed it. So like, I don't really know what's up with that, but like, I think that would actually be very helpful. Yeah, Angel's a good player. I'm glad to see him on the board. I don't think people really know much about him, but I am excited that someone put him on a team because I'm a big fan of when I can play with him, I feel like comfortable.
Awesome.
Having a dual male set where both people are very quick is useful, especially if you have, say, a newer player and that they're bound to like mess up at some point. But if you have that speed to be able to recover quickly, it reduces like how much those mess ups really affect things. Like the amount that muscle and speed really goes into things makes a huge difference.
Yeah, he's really fast and he also doesn't get tired very quickly. So he'll like just stay in the game until he's told to come off.
Awesome. Okay. Next pick, we have Anthony Tucker from Devils or Arizona State. What do you think of this pick, Brooke?
This is a very exciting pick for me to talk about. Honestly, he's one of those players, and I don't want to say this lightly, but I truly believe that he is like a really overlooked player in the West. He is a nightmare to play against, really wonderful to have on your team. He has actually been playing Quidditch since high school. There are 2 relevant high school Quidditch teams in Arizona. He's from one of them. And he just really is a fantastic player. He is very physically aggressive. He has a really strong arm, can throw really accurate beats, and he has an extremely in-depth understanding of the game and strategy. Putting him on the pitch, he was actually our beater captain last year, in addition to also being president of the club at ASU. And he really can be extremely well with anyone. He is terrifying in a double male pair. And when playing with a female or a non-binary person, he is so calculated and fast. He's very fast. I don't know if this is something he wants me to advertise, but he also plays extremely well as a keeper and chaser. I think somewhere where he definitely struggles a little more is if it looks like a play is going very well and like the chasers and the keeper have it under control, he will back off a little bit and he'll be a little more hesitant to make a play or to step up with them, even if it's good to do that, stay in a safe place for that play. But he really is an exceptional player. As a freshman, he got to play with people like Vicky Sanford, Ryan McGonigal, Amani Burton. So he really took on, I think, a lot from them. He can definitely hold his own against them. He's unintentionally injured quite a few of our players at practice. Like I said, he's definitely terrifying to play against, but I think really great to have on your team. Admittedly, I'm not as familiar with the other beaters on this team, so I'm not sure how he would fit in with them. But I imagine that between his just like knowledge and understanding and his skill, he'd be able to make it work pretty well.
I don't know what Teal's plans are for their lineup, but I do like the idea of playing Philip with Unshul from Cal and then Anthony and Olivia together, just because specifically Philip and Unshul typically are going to are used to like a dual male set anyway, and Olivia is used to playing with playing the cleanup anchor position, and I think that she would do that really well with Anthony. I have one very distinct memory of one game that Anthony has played, and he stuck out insanely to me. And I was like, I've never heard of this person. I have no idea who they are. And I had to ask another ASU player and be like, who is this man that I've never even seen before? So he definitely is a standout player. I think a lot of ASU players are finally going to get these picks in because they are lesser known names. That's kind of what we talked about last time, is we think most of these people think they can get whatever ASU player or Arizona in general player they want later, just because their names aren't as known. And I think that's what Teal had kind of been hoping for with Anthony, and I think it is a steal of a pick. He's certainly not in like these top two lines of the Kobe Drew line, but he is, to be going 8th round, to me was surprising after my limited experience seeing him play.
Yeah, and I think with Olivia too, with that cleanup, I think something I may have forgotten to mention, kind of along with like being a little more hesitant to make plays when it looks like everything is going well. Similarly, he gets nervous to lose that second bludger if they're up. He doesn't want to make a play and get rid of that, just because I think he doesn't like wasting time on getting it back. But no, I definitely agree. Based on what you guys have said about Olivia, I think that could be a really great pair. And I think this was definitely a steal for Teal team.
Okay, sticking with Arizona, we've got Amanda Clark from ASU, also a draft board image member. Brooke, what do you think of the Amanda pick?
Yeah, so Amanda, like Anthony, is going on her 4th season with ASU. She actually is taking over from him this year as our beater captain. And Amanda actually, despite this being her 4th season, tore her ACL in our very first tournament of our freshman year. And it was an unofficial tournament. It was Chandra Cup in 2017. And she tore her ACL. So she spent the majority of her first season recovering from that. She actually never had surgery on it, so she just had to kind of let it heal and see where the cards fell. And she got lucky; it was able to heal. She's able to play now, and she actually made our ASU's A team her second year, even after not being able to play most of her first year. So I think that really speaks to her determination and her skill. She knows the basics really well. Despite her injury, she's not afraid to lay a hit at all. However, as far as retrieving the second bludger and trying to kind of steal it away, she definitely is a little more hesitant to kind of go the Michelle Cohen style of wrestling, playing the wrong sport, in my opinion. But she definitely has a really strong arm. She has a softball background in high school, so she throws very hard and with extreme accuracy. So, and then she also plays, again, really well on double female pairs. ASU plays a ton of that. Her and Michelle have played together. I made a note about her playing with Drew. I think her and Drew could be a really great pair. Just between Drew's experience and Amanda's arm and Drew's arm, I think that she could do extremely well on this team.
Yeah, I agree. As Amanda Clark, from my personal memory and knowledge, is the last female beater or non-binary beater whose name that I know that has not been selected yet. Like, I think, and granted, me not knowing someone's name is not a value of their playing ability at all, especially because I've been so focused on the club division. But Amanda is the last person that I was like, they're going to come up, because the list of just female beaters who can play at this level is not a very long list. And so I'm really excited to see that Gray was able to snag her as their third beater. I am worried if they are just going to have Amanda as the only beater, but Amanda's also a pretty competent chaser. Is that correct, Brooke?
Yeah, Amanda really, like I said, didn't play much for freshman year. Sophomore year, she pretty much played exclusively as beater. But then last year, she really started playing chaser more and has become a wonderful utility player. And again, not afraid to lay those hits as a chaser either.
So even if Gray ends up playing more of a Harry and Drew beater line, and then whoever they pick up in these last few rounds, if they're a male beater, they can just stick to a male set, because Amber, Dana, and Amanda all sound like really great female and non-binary players that you want to have on your chaser line anyway. So I think that is like the first real versatility that we've seen in beaters. And I think that's definitely an asset to have, especially when you're planning for stitch on pitch and other things. So
I would love to see Amanda and Amber play together on a quaffle line. I think that would be a fantastic line. I love watching Amber play. I hate playing against her. So I think that would be them together on a line. They would really excel.
Yeah, I think it would be smart to play Amanda as a chaser if they want to do that double male. If they wanted to put her as a beater with Drew, if Drew's going to keep running, I know that Amanda gets a little bit like behind because she does have like that knee brace. It does slow her down a little bit. So if Drew's just sprinting down the field, she could just, get left behind. And I think it would work because she does have that arm. But I think that it would be good to play her as a chaser for at least some of the game so that she gets that rest. Because beating is a lot of just chasing after balls, and it takes her a bit longer because of the knee brace.
Okay. Going to Red's last pick, they finally pulled a beater out, and we've got Chae-Hun Ong. Is that how it's pronounced?
Cannon Ong.
Amazing. I was not bad. Okay, Catherine, what do you think of this pick?
I think Shannon is a good choice. Him and Ivan know how to beat together, and they're our starting beaters, so they would be good. I think the thing that trips him up the most, and everybody knows gets very angry, and that can cause a lot of problems for him. So I think having him down here is probably good. He throws really hard and like will not hesitate to like get in there and get the ball. But yeah, at the same time, we all talk about it on the team, but like it's definitely real, and like it's definitely a problem of his that like he gets angry, and when he gets like angry, he just like is tunnel vision and can't do anything else besides do what he wants to be doing. So I mean, that's definitely needs to be worked on. But as a player, he's good, and like he is accurate. He understands the sport pretty well. And so like he'll strategize with Ivan, and like he wants to do well. So he cares and is going to like work well on this team.
I think this is the only pair on the board that are a real pair in the sport now. So I think that is a huge advantage to just have people a beater pair takes a long time to like curate and grow, and if they have been doing it already for a season or more, I think that's a huge advantage to have. I like that Stephanie, I think, can fit with either side of this. I'm so curious to see who they pick up as a fourth beater, considering they took him at 8th round. The West is not known for elite beaters, and the list is getting smaller and smaller, and I'm curious after taking, it's funny to compare purple and red against each other on the board, because we went 3 straight tracers and 3 straight beaters, and I think that's really 2 different strategies, and I'm curious how it'll pay off. But I do love Red's like chaser and quaffle line development so much. I'm hoping that no matter who their fourth beater ends up being, it won't matter. Like it's going to be strong through and through. But I do love anyone being the opportunity to play with their regular beater pair in a fantasy team. So
it's interesting that this entire team is once again another Cal player. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but whoever this GM is just like really fan of Cal. It's interesting.
Okay, and I am gonna say like there's what 3 players that aren't, but like Luke is the Utah keeper, and he gets compared to Pfenning the most, which is another Cal player. So are they like are they just making Cal 2.0? Like
I don't know.
certainly some interesting choices, but I don't dislike it at all. I just think it's risky to not take a beater before the 8th round when you only have your first 2. But
yeah.
Okay, next for purple, their last pick, we are finally seeing a chaser, and it's Elijah Franklin from San Jose State. Another draft board. All of our draft board image people have now been selected. Elijah, my only problem with Elijah's pick is I do not think Elijah is known well enough that I think Purple could have waited until 9 or 10 and still have gotten him. Just like, and that's not a credit to his own talent. It's just a member of being on San Jose State right now and just not a lot of people knowing San Jose players' names. And I think other Quaffle players could have gone before him, and that's my only critique. Elijah really has stepped up on such a small team. He can keep, chase, beat, and seek. He knows how to work with female and non-binary Quaffle players. He knows how to be off ball. He has amazing field awareness. He's played with Fog and played really well. I have no complaints about the Elijah pick other than I do not think other people know him, and Purple could have like gotten a steal later and gotten a little more well-known name before Elijah went. But I think it's smart. I would like to see Elijah play with people already picked. Like we've said, I don't know what's going to come out of these two dominant driving keepers as far as like having like the off ball, like what their effect is, but defensively, Elijah's super strong. He knows how to commit to a play. He cares. He leaves it like all out on the field. While he's not listed as a seeker here, he does seek for San Jose State. And we have all seen Kellen seek until he cannot breathe anymore. So just having someone with a little bit of seeking experience, even if that's not their primary role here, I think that's also just a help to be able to give Kellen a break. So I love the Elijah pick. I just don't think it needs to happen in the 8th round because I don't think he's going to go before the last few just because of the team that he's on.
Yeah, I agree a lot with that. He can do anything, and he did have to carry San Jose this year, so he does know how to like finish the plays and do all that by himself. But yeah, I agree. He went a bit early for how well he's known.
Just from, I think the first time I played against him ever was this year at Regionals, and playing against him was definitely a really unique experience. He's really aggressive Quaffle player and definitely kept me on my toes. I didn't know that he was also such a utility player. I think that's really interesting. And while I agree with like saying that he should or could have gone later, and they probably still would have been able to pick him up, I think having that kind of utility is just really helpful in a pinch.
Yeah,
he's a great player. I like whenever we play SJSU, he's like on the field the entire time, and he's like rotating what position he's playing. So I respect him playing a lot.
Definitely capable of a lot of things. I know we just also like hyped him up so much, but I also like don't want other people to see this who don't know him and be like, oh, well then why didn't he go earlier either? I think 8 is a very fair like Quaffle player pick for him. I'm not like, I don't want this to come across as he's so utility and he can be like a second round pick. That's not the case. Elijah's great, but I think 8 is very fair. I just think that Purple could have stuck him by, and he would have been undrafted for a little bit longer.
Yeah, like as good of a player as he is from San Jose State, where they don't have like a huge roster of like experienced players that he can learn from. It's kind of like he has to learn from each game playing against like more experienced chasers and keepers and like, so yeah, I agree. It's completely fair for him to go here because he doesn't come from a team where he can constantly be learning from all those experienced players, because San Jose State like this year is very, very new. It's very fresh.
Agreed. Okay, fantastic. And our last pick of the night is Connell, I think it's Barrett, from UC Irvine. Oh, it didn't paste. Hold on. I'm trying to multitask. I have seen Connell play a few times, but I personally asked Erin, who could not be here tonight, for a little bit of insight because she was a huge aspect of the UCI's beater coaching this year with the team. So her thoughts were really, Connell is used to playing with Kobe. They've done a set together. I'm trying to like rephrase her own words for her, but they're going to have a lot of chemistry together. I also think that Connell can play with Adam in a dual male set and could also adjust to playing with Maxine because he also has experience playing with Olivia and some of the other, and like Stefan, etc. Part of what I like this about it and what Erin liked about it was Kobe is the kind of player that will play until he is literally unable to move his body. And if he is going to be seeking for this, he'll trust Connell as someone on UCI and who we've seen before, to be like, I can take a break and let Connell come in and do this. I believe that he would have the same faith in Adam, but just because Kobe has seen Connell so much together, he'll be able to take a little weight off himself with having a current teammate on his team. Basically, I think that Connell's going to be able to pair really well with any of the three beaters on the list, and Connell and Adam could easily hold their own as a double male set to free up Kobe to seek if Michael isn't being able to make it happen. So I think it's really smart. I think Connell's a really, really fair 8th pick beater. He unfortunately lives in the shadow of Kobe the same way that Timothy kind of does. Not many people know anyone other than Kobe as far as beaters go. Honestly, myself included. I know Timothy from MLQ and fantasy and things, and I don't have the experience with Connell. But I think it's a smart pick. I'm happy to see that Blue Team has filled out for beaters by round 8. I think that's really smart based on what we've talked about before. Does anyone else have any insight on the Connell pick? Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so a lot of smart players picked today. I'm going to leave the draft board up while we talk and discuss. Does anyone have any thoughts, things that surprised them, things that they liked?
I'm a big fan of Gray's Chaser core. Their Chaser starting lineup, I think, in my opinion, is the best one. They look like a really great defensive set for one. But all Dana, Daniel, and Michael are all people that are really willing and able to make those hits. And I think that'll do a great job at reducing the ability for other teams to drive, which people do seem to be relying upon a lot. And Tony being a great distributor would work that really well. So yeah, I mean, that's my initial thoughts of just looking at least chaser-wise. I think Gray has the strongest starting chaser core.
I was baffled when I saw Purple go down the line going beater, beater, beater. I really was caught off guard by that, and I wasn't expecting it, and it seemed very intentional. I don't think I think that was their plan. And then I sat on it longer, and I decided now that I love it. I think it is so smart to just go in here, get the beaters that you need, because the West just has a lot more competent quaffle players than I think every region does, because there's 4 quaffle players on a line and 2 there's just more of them. But I think a 12th round beater is going to be a less impactful choice than a 12th round chaser, at this point of where we are in the draft. And I think it was so smart of Purple to make sure that you've locked in these beaters, to make sure that these driving keepers that we talked about for so long last time, to give them those lanes. I feel bad. I was re-watching this, and Kellen was drafted, and then we got back to and we were like, Kellen's amazing, but he needs a passing driver to complement him, and we need this. And then Jonathan got picked, and we're like, well, Jonathan also doesn't really pass, so neither of them can pass, and this team's not going to pass the ball at all. And I feel bad. And I think if the draft had happened reversely, we would have said the same exact thing about Kellen. Jonathan is an amazing keeper. He is one of the best. I was honestly surprised to see him go 3rd round. I thought he would have been 2nd. He is he's one of my draft board images. He is super strong. I think his defense can get a little lazy if he thinks the other player will handle it. He'll be like, oh, they got it. But other than that, he is a threat. He is very tall, very capable. He has a good shot. He can drive. So I want to say all of that, because I feel like we really didn't talk about that at all when he was drafted. We were like, oh, well, 2 of them don't really pass that much, so who needs Purple? But I just wanted to reflect on that a little bit. But I really love what Purple's doing. I think it's been super strategic. I would have liked to see a bigger quaffle threat picked as number 8. As we said, I think Elijah could have gone later, and I think there are a handful of other large people, whether it's some of the ASU big boys that haven't even touched the draft board yet, or there are some more options here that I think Elijah could have even made it to just to 9th round. But either way, I think it's super smart what Purple's doing. Purple was low on my list, and they have jumped really high back up with the way that they drafted for this round. So really excited about that.
I think something interesting about Purple, though, is every single player can play more than one position. I have seen every player on Purple team play multiple positions. I've seen Justin play Chaser and Keeper. Kellen, his 3 are listed. I've seen Jonathan do Keeper Chaser, Nicole Chaser Keeper. I've done all the things. Timothy's done Beater Keeper, like we said. Michelle can chase, and Elijah can do Chaser Keeper Seeker. Like, it's a very utility dense team, and I think that's important because, like, especially in fantasy drafts, being able to just switch up your lines if someone gets injured or something goes wrong is like key to like maintaining a strong team. And I feel like all the players on Purple can switch if absolutely necessary. Like, on top of having a really strong beater core, like the beaters can switch if they need to.
Speaking just to the Arizona players, I think Michelle and Amanda were drafted in pretty fair spots. They're definitely really talented beaters, but I can't really think of anyone who I would replace them with in the first couple of rounds. Like I said earlier, I think Anthony coming in at the 8th round was an absolute steal. Like Lindsey said, I don't know if he's first or second round at all, but he's definitely a very talented, very scary beater. And I think him going this late, it definitely surprised me. As far as people who I'm missing from Arizona, Danika mentioned this last time, I am missing Carrie Anderson from here.
I really think that she should have gone instead of Elijah. I really think she could have gone instead of Elijah. That would have been a steal, and then you could have taken him on another round. I think that team needs female chasers, and Carrie is a really strong pick that would have been good there.
Yeah, not only is Carrie a great chaser, she is a great utility player. In a pinch, she can seek, she can beat, and I think that would have also gone really well with Purple Team's kind of utility dynamic there that Danika pointed out. I even think she could have gone a touch earlier than 8th round, in my opinion, but I just have a lot of appreciation for everything she does for NAU and how well she plays and really ties that team together. Like Lindsey said, I'm surprised that some of like ASU's huge guys didn't go. Will Bray comes to mind. So I'm excited though to see if anyone comes up in the final block of picks.
I am still hyping the blue team train though. I'm just gonna throw out, I was hyping them last time. I'm gonna continue hyping them. They're Cameron with like strong female chasers and then another strong driver to like help him out where he can't drive is really smart. They've got all 4 really like good beater picks. Like, I don't know, blue team seems really well rounded for me, and I don't know, I'm hyping that train still.
Me too.
I'm a little nervous for Red and Gray to not have your 4 beaters locked in by this point. And I know that if you have 4 beaters, that's half of your current choices. And I'm not saying that any of Red or Gray's picks I don't think were smart and shouldn't have happened. But like I've said 12 times already, the list of beaters that can play at a high West level is getting very small. And I'm hoping that Red and Gray are smart to pick up their last 2, assuming that they're all only picking 4. I don't know if these teams plan to pick 5 beaters and have an extra if you're planning for injury or whatever. But I'm a little nervous. I don't love that for either Red or Gray, but I do love Gray's quaffle line. Red is just really honing in on this Cal thing, and I hope that it works for them. I love the chemistry concept. It's just crazy that you have so many players available, and you're like, okay, Cal.
Yeah, I do think that there are too many Cal players for how many players there are in the region. Like, yes, Cal is a really good team, but I think that you need to find more talent on other teams personally, because there are a lot of teams that have good talent that just are being overlooked because Cal names for these GMs apparently are just more well known. So I mean, I'm missing a Matt Jackson from my team from Utah. He could easily be at the same level as Adam Cyril, and I think that he should have been one of the beaters picked here. So if he's not picked next round, I'm gonna be livid because he really is like, he's a smart beater, he's a aggressive beater. Like I really think, like, I've seen Matt beat against Drew Smith, and I think I said this last time as well, like he can go toe to toe with beaters like Drew Smith, and I think that he's an underrated name that needs to get on this draft.
We're always really nice here. Does anyone have any picks here that they don't like, and they're like this, like it didn't really come up doing the draft, and we talked about how Elijah could have gone later just because of how well they're known. Arguably, I think Sophie also could have gone later just for how I don't know any of you players. I'm not going to pretend to. I have no idea who Sophie Wood is, and I've heard amazing things from this and from the GM, so total faith in them, but I just the fact that they seem to be a lesser known name between even us, is a sign that they may have been able to go later. But does anyone have anyone on this entire board that they don't like as a pick, or they think that they went too early, not because of how well their name is known, but just of like their actual skill, and they think that they've been overrated on the draft board?
I was actually going to circle back to Sophie. Like I said, Sophie is a very talented chaser and can ball carry really well. However, I totally agree. She definitely could have gone a little later, especially speaking to just kind of like how she plays with her team and those communication skills. I think that she definitely could have gone closer to 8 or 9, and they could have picked up someone a little more beneficial.
I think maybe Connor could have been chosen in a later round. There's definitely, I feel like, some more talented, if they were going for a male chaser, I think there's better male chasers out there who could have just been earlier. Connor's really strong, but he is also makes a lot of mistakes. So I think that someone who's more seasoned probably would have been a better choice up there.
They were also, Connor was first round, first round
Yeah.
and fifth round. So that's
bold.
Red's top priority, which is definitely risky.
I'm gonna be honest, I would have put Michelle before myself because she does have the aggression that I'm lacking, and like, yeah, I can clean up, but so can she, and I think that she could have been a stronger pick early on, but I mean, she's still on the board, and I think that she is a good pick where she went, but I think she could have gone, like, I think you could have switched that.
And purple got both of you, so
yeah, I mean, it's fine, but I probably would have switched it personally.
That's fair. That's a valid assessment, I think.
Kind of.
No,
I was just gonna say, moving back to what you said about the red and gray team. With gray team especially, I really would love to see them pick up their fourth beater as a female or non-binary person, just because I think that would work well with the players they've already picked. And I would just like to see that balance, especially with Amanda on that team. I think that could be super beneficial. But
is there any names that we've talked into this a little bit, but names to not come up this round we're surprised about? We just spoke about Will from ASU, but are there any other, and Matt Jackson, is there anyone else that we are either excited to see come up next, and assume have to come up next, or what do you think?
Oh, I really hope that Taylor Groth from Utah State pops up, because she gets overlooked a lot because she's the other blonde on Utah State.
But they also have a blonde rookie, Jenna. There's like a first year player who's also blonde.
She's little, yeah. But yeah. Taylor has the height that the other Utah State chasers are lacking, and like all Utah State, I feel like all of Utah State has a very specific play style, and like Taylor could easily go on any team and be a good asset. Plus she's taller and bigger and also willing to make those hits, and I think that defensively she's a bigger threat, but she's not as well known, so I'm not surprised to have not seen her yet, but I would like to see her go in the next round.
I agree with Taylor, huge fan. Krieger is currently looking at UCLA team photos, and before they even started to do that, I think this board is just very UCLA lacking, and there is all of the big names are gone, obviously, but like Justin and Jonathan and Dana are not the only players on this team. They are not known for using female and non-binary players that well, and they're not known for like having like they play now as how I kind of saw Cal play last year. Really, they're only like first 1.5 lines really see the field that often, but there's still more people. Like I am not going to pretend to be a UCLA like. They'll have something to say in a minute, but I am just so surprised that UCLA is such a good team, and that there are so few UCLA people on this draft board. Before I let Krieger talk, I'm going to finish my other thought, was I think I'm excited, and I hope that we see Blake Rodman come up from Utah State.
Yes.
He is a tank. I think he is an asset to literally any team just because his defense is really strong. He's impossible to get through. He can drive through a lot of people. I do not think he should have gone now. Like I think him not if he had come up in 7 or 8, I wouldn't have been surprised. But I do hope to see him come up in the last 2. And also Rachel Ramirez. I had actually talked to a few people and I was like, am I missing something about Rachel? And I think I know Rachel as someone who literally changed as a player when she played on Guardians with myself and the other Guardians people. And I think the vibe that I've picked up is like she is still doing well, but she's kind of plateaued since then, and that was 2 years ago. And so she's a good player, but people kind of just expect more based on how long she's been playing. And I'm still hoping she comes up, as I was very surprised that she wasn't. I know that she makes mistakes. I think the reason why I like Rachel so much, we have a very similar playing style, and her flaws are also my flaws, so I don't like to pretend that they're flaws, and maybe that's why I don't see them as well. But I have to assume Rachel's going to come up eventually. I'm really surprised that she hasn't been yet, if literally not for her skill, just for her name. Like, she is a really well-known name, I think, at this point, after having experience on Guardians and playing with Riptide. And yeah, those are mine.
So a huge thing about UCLA this year is they had a lot of new people. They lost a good chunk of people last year. That was like the Ryan Harris, Elizabeth class. A lot of key great players that graduated last year. And like coming into this past season, I was really worried about UCLA. And I told them very regularly, I was like, y'all really need to recruit well. Like, I was like, you know what? Like, not gonna lie, I think like UCI, looking at what I see from them, is gonna win regionals this year. But like we'll see how y'all do with recruiting. And they did well. They have a lot of new people, and they won regionals. But that goes with people don't know these people. I barely know them. Like I wasn't able to live in LA. I wasn't even able to watch a lot of their games. So a lot of even what I know about them is like a practice I've been to occasionally or hearing people talk about them. So I think they do have a lot of people that could be sneaker picks later. But it's just also hard to determine because they did rely so heavily on veteran players this year for a lot of key positions. So there were a lot of people that did not get playing time or did not get a lot of development. But there's definitely good names on there, that people that I think could definitely be great picks 9 through 12, in that they definitely fit, if not exceed, the people that we'll see there, but definitely people don't know them. Brian Gallagher, nobody knows who that is, but he's but he's a really fast dude. His older brother played as well. A little bit of a legacy. We have a new person on UCLA, Maddie. She's really tall. Chaser on UCLA. I think she's like almost 6 foot. Didn't really want to keep, so she didn't get a lot of work keeping wise. But having that pass option is a beautiful thing to have, especially behind the hoops. There's also man, I can't even remember his name, but there's this first year beater on UCLA, a male beater that I imagine would be a huge pickup for anybody that was like beating with Justin and was really relied upon, as good as, like, I think played about as much as Philip, and Philip got picked 2nd round. But he was like picked up the game really well. And so there are a lot of sleeper options left on UCLA, so I'm excited to see who does their research and actually finds them. But most of them will not be known, just like by recognition.
Danika, I have a question directed at you specifically. Would you think Porter is going to make these top 12?
I literally just wrote his name down. I was thinking, I really want him to. He is not known very well. He's been playing for a year and a half. He started halfway through last season. He's actually the coach this year for the Utah team if they get to play. But no, he's an amazing utility player. He can keep, he can chase. He started as a chaser. He doesn't beat, but I mean, there's enough beaters on this board. We don't need those. But like, he would be a really good seeker choice for any team because he never runs out of energy. Like, I am always surprised at how much energy he has. And I really hope that he goes in this draft because he is like, he has just such a positive energy around him that like he just kind of exudes to the team, which I think is really helpful. And he's really talented. Like for only playing a year and a half, like he stepped out to the plate this year when our keepers couldn't come to tournaments, when Luke got injured in the first game of regionals. Like Porter played all game, every game as keeper and only subbed out when it was time to, like we utilized Porter like Utah State utilized Kellen.
Right.
And yeah, he got tired, but who wouldn't, right? So I think with a draft like this, Porter would be a really good player to have. Yeah, I was gonna talk about that. I was like, I really hope Porter goes. Like, I was thinking about like people on my team who would be like kind of known or like good enough to make it into this because it is a very limited draft for how many players there are. And I think that Porter is my number one pick for who would go after like Matt Jackson.
And then Brooke, do you have any more Arizona like predictions that you think are going to come up in the next 4 rounds?
Yeah, I actually was just writing down a couple names, trying not to forget anyone. As far as predictions, I'm assuming we're gonna see Will Bray at some point. I think if he didn't get picked, I'd be pretty surprised. Just, you know, he's 6'4", 240 pounds. He's a huge asset for size alone, and then on top of that, he has the experience. As far as some less known players, I would love to see Caroline Livingston. She doesn't have as much experience as some of the other people on our team, but she really has developed really well this past year. She's not afraid to lay a hit, definitely a more physical female player. And then also, I was thinking about this player we have named Tanner Webb. He is a chaser, and he also is a fantastic seeker. And I was kind of going back and forth, even thinking that if he was more well-known, I wouldn't have been surprised to see him in these first 8 rounds. Because when at regionals this year, our team caught the snitch quite a few times, very exciting, and he was the majority of them. He caught during our game against USQC, that was kind of that upset. He really, in addition to just being super athletic, really talented, his seeking skills, definitely, I would say he's definitely the best seeker on our team right now. And then pretty close after him, we have Corey Direnzo, who is also just a super athletic player that we have, scoring all the time. So I would love to see them. But like I said, they're not as well known, so I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't see them. Kind of like Christian said, if people do their research, maybe. But we'll just have to see.
Catherine, I know most of Cal is on the board already. So any more picks, we're getting real deep into those Cal lines. But is there anyone that you want to predict are going to come up in the last 4 rounds?
There's a few people I think, honestly, in terms of like our female players, like we just don't really utilize the female beaters at all. Like, so that's just like kind of a bummer, but that also means they haven't gotten a ton of practice. Maybe Jackie, she's pretty good for female beater. Also, like she's probably our best female beater that we have. I think other beaters like David Campos, he's known as like the AirPods guy. Yeah, he's good. He didn't play. He graduated after first semester, so he didn't play at all for a second semester. But him and Ivan, like when they were up against Kobe, I think that they like really were holding their own. They were a good set. So he's a really good beater. Also for chasers, are like male chasers, Eric Shen, he got injured, but he was just like a really consistent male chaser. And along with Matt Thura, like on defense, like he's an animal. Like he just like gets in there. He's pretty small, but he can just like knock people over, and he's so strong. Like him and Connor, like very similar styles, and Matt is a really good catcher, so I think he's great at finishing behind the hoops. So I would be really excited to see Matt up there. Also, another beater that we have, Oliver Pizarro, him and Anshul are like a duo, and they're like the dream team together. They're always beating. So if like Oliver could be with Anshul, that would be great. But also Oliver's a great beater on his own. He has a ton of stamina and he understands the sport. So I think, honestly, if I saw any of those 4 players, I'd be really excited. Or just like any of our female beaters, like I would be really happy to see Taylor. I don't know, like any of them.
Okay.
You said Eric. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
You said Eric Shen, and I was like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot. But like,
Yeah.
that would be a steal at this point. He's a really good chaser. Like,
He's really good, and he got injured like tragically. But I would love to see him up there. He's
like, I could see him have
Yeah.
gone like earlier on if I
Yeah.
hadn't forgot about him.
And like I feel like when I know I'm playing with him, like I feel good, like he's consistent. So I'd love to see him up there.
I think there was one more NAU player that I think should go in a next round. Jason Beller. He's Adam Beller's younger brother. He's got the same aggression, but like he's a decent chaser, keeper. I'm not surprised he hasn't gone because 1, he's not super well known, and 2, he's only been playing like 2 years. Like he's not. Also, he's from NAU, which no one knows anyway. But I think that he could be a valid addition to any team, and I think it'd be cool to see him on this board as well.
And I know we've talked a little, like Danika's on the blue hype train, but anyone have a favorite team so far that they think is gonna take home the fake gold in this scenario?
I'm also on the blue hype train, but I definitely also like the purple team. It's looking pretty good, especially with that beater lineup. I'm excited to kind of see how they develop out with the chasers more.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see like some strong female chasers coming on the board for purple.
I think I'm a big fan of Gray Team. I think, like I said, they had one of the strongest chaser cores, but also having beaters that can back them up pretty well. Blue Team's also looking really good. I'm just really interested to see how the final picks really roll out, to see where people can truly fill in those gaps. But I'm really high. Gray and blue are the top for me.
I agree with that. I'm nervous for whatever route Gray takes with their last beater. That unknown is like giving me a lot of hesitation when it comes to Gray. I do really like I don't think any of these teams are substantially like out of a running at all. Like Teal Team, I didn't love their start. Just like for me, Aiden just was a strange pick. Like if Cameron Bombar's still on the board, why aren't you picking Cameron if you want to keep her? But who's like I didn't love Teal's start, but I do like they like filled in their beater line. I like the Simone pick. I like the way that Teal went today a lot better with how their start was, and I think it's starting to balance out for me. Teal and purple were definitely my lower tier teams, and both of them drafted. I was really happy with both of them now. So I'm curious for the last 4 picks because I really think a lot can happen. I would do anything for this to be a real tournament because I think these teams would be so much fun to watch play because there's the distribution of talent is going really, really well, and I'm excited. Okay, anyone have closing thoughts? Anything they want to mention? Any Anything else? All right. Well, fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for joining me on part 2 of the WCC Draft on BAC. We will have our next video out hopefully at the end of next week, depending on the GM schedule as well, to be determined. But I hope you enjoyed this. Let's talk about it. If you have made it this far in the video and you do not put a comment on the post, I am angry at you. Like, just say one thing you liked. Like let's engage, let's talk. Who do you like? Like, we say a lot of nice things here. People don't have to agree with us. You can disagree and say mean things about these people that you believe are true. Let's talk about it. So if you made it this far into the video, and you should write something, wherever this is posted, and we should have more conversations about what's happening in this draft, because you all want to talk about college players, and here's a chance to talk about college players. So let's talk about college players. Great.
I would love nothing more than for someone to roast my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, let's get into it. Let's see it.
I also was just like watching for comments on the Facebook post and was very sad at how few there were. So please just like, even if people aren't going to watch the video, I really want them to just comment so I can be like, yeah.
I'm bored at the very least and be like,
Exactly.
I don't like
Yeah.
I don't know what anybody said about it, but
Exactly. Like we spent so long talking about how we're not talking about our college players enough, and this is the chance to do that. And like, I know with the whole BAC thing, I have a note at the bottom of like my videos that say like a lot of these people have never had a chance to like strategically analyze Quidditch before, and this is so like I expect you to like this to be met with like kindness and like patience, because a lot of us haven't ever done this. But just because I say that doesn't mean you can't disagree with us. And I would love people to engage and be like, I think this is a wrong take, and I want to know that, because how would I ever learn? So let's talk about it. This is just a rant now about people engaging on Facebook. But again, if you have made it this far and you do not say something, I am upset with you. So yeah, great, fantastic. We will see you next week with some group of these people again. Fantastic. All right, bye everybody.
Bye.